why we're cover.
So yeah, here we go. Horribly Hilly. Not the most eventful start, as I would say. In fact, nobody's really like lined up in the little corral where they have us go through. Everyone was kind of waiting back, and then we all kind of just get rolling along. As you can see, this is actually the 100K group starting because I missed both the 200 and 150 start times. But I totally understand. You're not really going to be in a hurry because you've got a long day ahead of you. You've got 10,000 feet, roughly. I think it ends up usually being a little more. In fact, their mileage is really never on point. I feel like they'll say you're doing 150K, it ends up being 165K, something along those lines. And Greg, the race organizer, has told me, well, I know that it's not exact, but I don't think it's that big of a difference. And yeah, I actually think that it is. Or at least it might change from year to year, but it doesn't matter because I really dig this ride. I think it's one of my favorites of the year. Bike on my left just pulled up, another dude on a time bike, and of course we time bike guys all have to stick together because there's so few of us. But that's okay because I know that the two of us have great taste in bike frames. Anyway, let's chat about this ride and why I chose to make a video about it. I genuinely think that this is probably one of your best endurance events to truly challenge yourself, especially if you are in the Midwest. And why is that? Now, I'll say this. I do my fair share of events. I've gone all the way to the L'Etape de Tour de France 4 times, actually. And I've done the Levi's Grand Fondo. I've done Chicago Grid. I've done Apple Cider Century, North Shore Century, many rides. What I love about this ride is that it's not small. It's a good long day out there, but it's really for the everyman rider. There's a few serious cyclists that show up here, but overwhelmingly they are not out here racing for any mega prize money. Everyone is just out here to have a great time, really challenge themselves, and have a blast. And while I can't speak for others, what I can say for myself is that, you know, I can do this 10K of climbing alone if I have to, but I probably won't. I'll just make a slightly different route. The fact that there are plenty of folks around, you are doing these big loops and you know that there's going to be an aid station coming up, makes it a little bit easier, especially if you're going up a climb, somebody passes you at a little bit, just a slightly faster speed gives you a wheel for a bit to hang on. It's really good motivation to push yourself if you've never had the chance to do so with this amount of elevation. But if that's a little bit too much climbing for you, there is a 150K route with roughly 7,500 feet of climbing. There's also a 100K route that has somewhere between, I want to say, 5,000 to 6,000 feet of climbing. And if you want to know why the race is in kilometers and the elevation is in feet, I don't know.
You know why they call it that?
Because of the metric system?
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Well, here's the rude awakening for the race. You know, when I did it the first time, you look at the Strava map, and I didn't pre-ride it, and it kind of, you see the hills, like they're definitely ups and downs, and you know that it's going to be some decent percentages, but you're, I don't know, you're not looking at it and thinking like, well, it's going to be that bad. Because when you first start, those first 5 miles or however long that intro part is, it's very rolly, it's very high speed. I'm passing a lot of people. And you think like, oh, I got this, you know, like, I think this is going to be an easy day. And then you get here. This is, I think, around 570 feet of climbing. This is the Blue Mounds Road that leads back into the park almost. The first time, kind of doing a little lap. So 570 feet of climbing, 7.7% average gradient with parts hitting 12%, I believe. But it doesn't matter. I'm doing my S-turns early. I want to keep it nice and smooth for myself because I know I've got a long day, because I've done this before. And you're going to end up doing this twice, because you do this now at the very start, and then at the very end of the day you're going to do this, which leads you into that final climb, which is even steeper. This spot right here, this gate, I don't know whose home this is, but you know, thank you so much for not kicking us out. I didn't stop here this year, but in previous years I've pulled right into that driveway right there, and so have many others. That's almost sort of like our resting spot, if you will. And now we are moving right along. A couple miles later, we've sort of passed the start line, and I'm still kind of taking it easy. The gradient here isn't too bad. I forgot what it is. It's maybe just like 5-6% up this hill that's coming up. But I just know that I need to pace myself. I'm not struggling at all. And the reason that I'm going slow and was doing those S-turns there, I know myself. I know my riding style. And I've been there before where I've bonked and hit the wall, and you just need to stop and walk and do whatever it is. And so just knowing that, I'm conserving a lot of my energy so that I know that I can have a great day. I'd rather take a little bit more of my time now and then maybe catch up to a few folks later. But again, I'm a heavier guy. I think at the time of this ride, I was 237 pounds. And so not exactly a climber, so I'm outputting some decent wattage here. I think that on that previous climb, which is, I want to call it, I think it's called Nat's Rat Race as the Strava segment, I think my average there was 275 watts, and you can see how slow I was going. So definitely weight is going to be a factor. And one of the things here that's interesting on the Horribly Hilly, because it's not a straight uphill climb and ups and downs, so these guys that are passing me here, I'll be rocketing by them later on. I try not to pass folks if I see that another sharp climb is coming up, because I don't want to have them working to pass me. It's just my own personal courtesy there. But sometimes I found myself just riding past guys that just passed me 2 minutes ago saying, sorry, you'll catch me on the next one. But you know, I've got to use my advantage and momentum on the downhills as well. Here we go again. And if S turns around the road make you a little bit nauseous, then go ahead and close your eyes and imagine something else more pleasant than me weaving and breathing heavily all over the road. I want to say in this area the average gradient was 9.5%, something like that. You can see that, you know, a lot of other folks are struggling. You're going to see some folks walking. This is kind of the crux of all things horribly hilly. Now, it is not that bad in the sense that, you know, it is, let's say 12% at some points. You know, it's averaging 9.5%, so you're definitely cranking away. But you know that it's going to end. You can almost always see the top and make your way there. So yeah, totally doable. And my time of zigzagging all over the road was briefly interrupted here by folks that are a little bit lighter than I am, probably a little bit more fit. So, you know, I did my best to get back in line with them. And then as soon as they passed me, I decided to go back to my S-turns and just owning the entire road, which backfires just a little bit here because, oops, this rider decides to pull over and stop. And I end up in the grass, but that's okay. A little bit of extra wattage never hurt anybody. And I know I'm sure someone will have comments about that and how dangerous this is, and you're probably not wrong, and so there you go. I'll just agree with you before you even post the comment. And finally, you are on this climb to the first proper stop. Now, there are other water stops along the way, but some of them are unmanned or just have one or two folks sitting there just kind of monitoring it. But here's where you're going to arrive. You're going to have a bigger crowd, proper food, and you will have all of the supplements your heart can desire. As long as those supplements are, of course, in your pocket, because they're a little bit limited here. But there's ample food. And this is the time, by the way, where if you are not a person who intakes a lot of salt, this is you're gonna want to definitely load up on salt here. So at these stops, I like to just go for the saltiest things ever, because those are usually going to have carbs in them anyway. Something like pretzels, crackers, or pickles are also great, or just pickle juice, and they usually have that here as well. But I've got to say that I know, even though I'm only about a third of the way through, seeing the church and the folks cheering you on just feels... Now, I stopped here a little bit longer than I like. I think the total stop was 10 minutes. I like to usually just get in, get out, 3 minutes, shove some food in my mouth, refill my bottles, and be on my way. But ran into some friends. We raised our glasses and did a toast with pickle juice, of course. And we even set out together, so it was very nice.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, this is the part of the day when you're sort of starting to be prepared for the race to be over. And part of the reason that is because I had a slight predicament. I was on another climb. It's all quiet because, you know, we're all suffering nice and quiet on some of these 12, 15, 20% gradients. And as I get to the top, I hear a bike in front of me, maybe just 2 or 3 bikes away, have a flat tire. I hear that's of a tire deflating, but they keep on going straight, and I'm like, wow, they're just going to be riding on a flat. I almost wanted to yell out and say, hey, you've got a flat, but then that was me. Nope, that was my flat. I heard my own tire. And fortunately for me, or unfortunately, I was bright enough in my haste to leave my saddlebag with my spare tube in the car. So that left me stranded on the side of the road. I got a hold of one of the SAG vehicles as he was coming by. The dude was awesome enough to let me toss my bike into the back, gave me a ride. It was actually only like 2 miles out from the next rest point where I had the chance to meet with the mechanic, have him plug in a new tube for me, and then I picked up a CO2 cartridge and an extra tube. He asked me, he's like, do you want a spare? And I'm like, you know what? I think it would behoove me to purchase one since I've already been unprepared enough today. Okay, so maybe you want to give this a shot. Well, the first tip that I'm going to give you is that if you register, do so early. I believe February is the time when registration usually opens. It will typically sell out. When it sells out at the cheaper rate, which I think is $125, it will become a little bit more expensive. There is the Friends of the Blue Mounds Park. It will be the only other way to get in, and I believe that that is like $275. That money goes to the park. I think it's for a great cause, so either way, I think you're doing good work. However, if you want to save that money, do register early and don't wait. And there's no real last-minute registration either. So if you're going to get started, you haven't really climbed, think about gears and not speed. Just whatever it is that you need to get over those hills, that's what you're going to go for. Pace yourself, be conservative. There's going to be some fast boys going off the line, and maybe on the downhill it's okay to draft off of them, keep up with them for a little bit, but if you feel them pulling away from you, don't try and hang with everybody. Groups are going to be all over the place. People are doing different routes, 100K, 150, 200, all over the place. Standing versus seated riding, you're going to maybe want to practice that just to give yourself a little bit of a break if you've been sitting for quite some time. Fueling is going to be super duper important, and the easiest thing that I see many guys forget is the salt. They jam their pockets with the sweets, and I think that that's great, and you definitely need those carbs. Do not forget the salts. You're going to be salty at the end of this ride. I have proof to show you. Yep, that is all salt there. And you kind of got to learn to love the grind. So those are my tips for the new folks. Otherwise, in terms of the positives, I think why I love the Horribly Hilly. I think it's got a little bit of reputation and prestige. People see you pull up with the Horribly Hilly socks, because you get a pair of socks when you do the race, and they're like, oh, you've done the Horribly Hilly. Or at least you've shown up to the registration to collect your socks. It's truly like scenic beauty everywhere. And the nice thing about it is that on the downhills, and there's a few flat sections, so you do get a chance to really enjoy it. With that said, there's enough climbing density that you're going up and down, and it's not like this long alpine 10, 15 mile climb where you're just suffering and not enjoying anything. And I think that it is a really, really good starter for mountain training. I do not think that it's a substitute, and I can speak from experience. I did this ride last year, the Horribly Hilly, completed it, but was not able to complete the L'Etape du Tour, which did have more climbing, but it's not a full preparation for that. So make no mistake that this is not a substitute for that, but it is a great precursor to it. Drop me a line in the comments below if you're thinking about doing it, and I hope to be out there suffering with you guys next year.
And then it's Michael Novo. He is from Coast Illinois. He gets 200K.
Son of a